Honourable Member, you have 45 minutes.
I'm obliged. Mr. Speaker, honourable members, what do you call action without vision? Merely passing time. And what do you call vision without action? Daydreaming. And what do you call this budget? I call it a potpourri, overcooked, wrapped in leaves, merely to camouflage the fact that it is business as usual with the ULP. Mere fluff. Budget speech. It's entitled Foundations for Growth, Jobs, and Transformative Sustainable Development. Mere words. At page 2 of the executive summary, the minister said, what are their goals? Diversifying the basis of economic growth, maintaining fiscal prudence, supporting job creation, reducing social inequality, attacking crime and the causes of crime, nurturing a healthy, vibrant private sector, improving on the delivery of quality care. So I ask the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has this government practiced fiscal policies? Has this government delivered proper health care? Has this government created jobs? Ask the people in Western George who tell me every day how many jobless people qualified, with some with degrees, some with O-level certificates, and cannot get a job. Has our healthcare services really improved? And talk about crime, reducing crime. So that's why I call this a wish list. A wish list. That is all it is. Why is it a wish list? In fact, the Honourable Minister himself called it, in his speech, he put an inexhaustive wish list of disjointed feel-good promises with dubious prospects of becoming reality. That is his words in his speech. That is what he said budget should not be. Well, I am saying that is what this is. An inexhaustive wish list of disjointed feel-good promises with dubious prospects of becoming reality.
Is that what he says, Honourable Senator?
I'm saying that these are his words. I'm quoting from it. He's saying that his budget is not that. But he put the words there.
Very well.
And I know why. That's why he did it.
No,
that's why
but
I'm
what
quoting
he's
from
saying
it.
was the opposite of what you just said.
That's the point. I said that. You must listen. I said that he's saying that that is what a budget should not be. I'm saying it is his words, and that is what this budget is. That is what this budget is. Now, I'm not just saying this lightly, you know, because the government has a policy of enhancing your budget to make it appear real by creating a fake revenue called other receipts. In 2018, it was $162 million. This year is $198 billion budget. But, Mr. Speaker, there is the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Economic and Social Review for the year 2017 at page 37. It tells us clearly that the government normally only spend about 25% of their, I will read it, what it says at page 37. Yeah. In 2017, and you can find this on the government's website, gov.vc. In 2017, a total of 297.6 million was approved for the implementation of capital program, compared with 224.7 million in 2016. Preliminary data for the year of 27 indicate that 75.8 million, or 25.5% of the budget, was spent. So I'm saying, I am not joking when I say it's mere fluff, a wish list. The usual thing is to put billions of dollars in, millions of dollars in, but you only spend about quarter of the budget to appear that you have a big budget. So that is why we're calling it an election gimmick budget, mere fluff, a wish list. But, Mr. Speaker, maintenance of peace and order and good government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines depends upon impartial legal services, the protection of our fundamental rights and freedoms. It must be the philosophical underpinning of any budget. The philosophical underpinning must be maintenance of good law and order, following rules and regulations. So when a vote of no confidence is turned into a confidence motion, that threatens our peace and democracy. And when civil servants are not promoted in a transparent and lawful manner, that threatens our democracy. So I just want to read very quickly from the Public Service Union case. Public Service Union and the Public Service Commission at page 163. I say this because it is not...
Page or paragraph?
Sorry, thank you, paragraph 163. I say this because our civil service and the way promotions are done will reflect negatively on our growth. And that is what was quoted at paragraph 136, and 163, and I want to read it. Justice Henry cited from the case, is it 136? Yeah, 163, sorry, paragraph 163. Let me find it. From the Public Service and the Public Service Commissions at page 161. That's a similar public service case. And this is what the learned judge thought was important to write into our judgment. Promotion provides a positive incentive and stimulus to any employee to aspire to greater heights in his chosen field. When it fails to materialize, it leads to apathy, frustration, demotivation, dissatisfaction, low morale, and dysfunctionalism. This is particularly so when juniors are pitchforked over seniors, as the habit of this NDP, of this ULP government, putting persons in the port and in the police force, etc., that come from a particular district, an area. So this is particularly so when juniors are pitchforked over their seniors without being given any reason for such action. Officers who are repeatedly overlooked for promotion develop a sense of rejection and become demotivated. Moreover, it would be unreasonable in the absence of reasons for those bypassed for promotion to conclude that promotion is based not on merit, but on some other factor. So when you have the court of appeal in our land, the High Court in our land, making a judgment like this, is it any wonder that production is so low? We could do better than that. I also want to refer to the recent case, Elvis Daniel et al. And the Public Service Commission. You know, I found it so interesting yesterday to hear Montgomery Daniel spurned on by Honorable Montgomery Daniel, sworn down by the Honorable Minister of what is he? No.
Foreign Affairs.
Sorry, I'm talking about Mr. Streaker, Honorable Streaker.
Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs, thank you. Say quite unabashedly that Montgomery Daniel was victimized by the NDP, that he did not get back his job when he ran. Completely untrue. Completely untrue. He ran about 2 or 3 times, and you know, when he ran, nobody in the NDP raised the constitutional bar. He was a civil servant then. NDP did not raise it. They could have done that. They did not raise it. But he got back his job. He didn't have to get back his job because he still had it. He was the extension officer, and in fact, I checked it out. The then Minister of Agriculture said he was a good worker. They would not have fired him. He had the fare, but the then Minister Aaron Cruikshank said he worked and named the persons who he worked with at that time. Senior Extension Officer Simeon Green was the Permanent Secretary. He was given special responsibility for rehabilitation of Banana. He worked at an Edwin Glasgow. And you will stand up and say that, okay, so NDP victimized me so I could victimize teachers. Is that what the message was supposed to be?
Wonderful.
Mr. Speaker, the member is, at this point in time, not given the facts that was presented by me yesterday, basically misleading the House. Mr. Speaker, I was a candidate in the elections in 1989, and I made it categorically clear. Yes, I resigned my job, but I reapplied for my job, and I never ever got back my job at the Ministry of Agriculture as an extension officer. And Simeon Green was never ever the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture at that time. There was a gentleman who was the PS, who was assigned to the OECS, who was the permanent secretary at that time. So the information that is presented by the member is indeed wrong. And I'd ask that you withdraw it.
Mr. Speaker, my information is correct. He was not victimized. He worked as an agricultural extension officer until he ran and won. Until he ran and won. Nevertheless,
hold on a second. No, stop. You can't go to nevertheless yet. You were saying, I recall yesterday vividly, that the Honorable, in fact, I thought he ran the first time in 1989, and in 1998. And when he said 1989, I whispered 1998, and he said, no, 1989. And he said that he ran then, and he lost. And hold on a second, he lost. And then he heard that there was an opening at the Banana Association, and he applied. And he said to this parliament that the then Minister of Agriculture went to the Board of Directors meeting and told them that they should not give him the job. And he did. I am sure I'm not misrepresenting what he said he did not get the job then. So if that is what the honorable member said, you cannot come to this parliament and say that he's not telling the truth by simply asserting it. For example, you have said that there was a time when Simeon Green was the PS, and the honorable member said that at that time Simeon Green was not the PS. So unless you're going to establish to us definitively, because the mere assertion of it is not sufficient, unless you can establish to us definitively that what you are saying factually contradicts what the Honorable Minister of Housing says, then you have to withdraw it.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
What evidence you have that what he says is the truth? Because he says it is the truth. Is that it? Because he says it is the truth.
The Honorable, I am not here to vouch who is telling the truth.
Good.
I am here to say that the minister said that in 1989 when he ran and lost, that he applied for a job at the Banana Association and he did not get that job and never got a job again. Hold on one second. And you were saying that that is not true.
That's not what I said. I don't know about him applying for a job and not getting it. I said he didn't even have to apply for a job because he still had his job. So I never said that. I said he was not victimized by the NPP.
That is fundamentally at variance with what he said. So on what basis you are asserting that he never lost his job? On what basis?
I am saying from my information, because we all live in St. Vincent.
No. But
we all live in St.
Honorable
Vincent.
Senator, it cannot be on your information.
What it should be on his information?
No. Hold on. It cannot be on your information. Because if the honorable member made an assertion, there are a whole host of people. You could have referenced the Minister of Agriculture then?
I did, Alan Cruikshank.
And are you saying that Mr. Cruikshank is saying that is not the case?
That's right. I said so.
No, you didn't say that.
I said yes, I said so. I said Alan Cruikshank.
No,
I did, I called his name. You missed it. I called the name of the minister.
The leader of the opposition just said she didn't want to call his name. I didn't miss anything.
No. I did say, we can play it back, but I called his name. I said Alan Cruikshank. I said
Alan Cruikshank told you.
I spoke with Alan Cruikshank this morning. I'm not misrepresenting. I spoke with Alan Cruikshank.
Anybody over there could say anything to me?
Oh boy.
Let's just
I didn't give a year. I did not give a year.
Mr. Speaker,
I did
in
not
1989, when I contested, when I left the Ministry of Agriculture, the gentleman who was the PS in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Hold on a sec. Hold on.
Who are you supporting all the time? I'm supporting all the time. Supporting who?
Mr. Speaker.
That's an attack. But what's that?
Honorable members, please.
Mr. Speaker, when I
just specialists in side talk.
When I left the Ministry of Agriculture in 1989, Randy Cato was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. So to tell me what I am saying as against what is being portrayed by the member really does not know what she's talking about. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is after 1991 Simeon Green came to the Banana Growers Association, where he was the chief executive officer there. I worked with Simeon Green as the manager of the Banana Growers Association.
So who was running the government then?
Therefore, the member does not have her facts right. The member needs to get her facts clear.
So, but just before you, so based on what you just said, based on what you just said, Honorable Minister, on what basis you would conclude, as you asserted yesterday, that you were victimized and never got a job until
That's right.
Mr. Speaker,
That's right.
I was a worker with the Ministry of Agriculture as an extension officer.
Yes.
I resigned my job and got in politics.
Yes.
I reapplied for my job at the ministry. I did not got back my job.
Yes. And you got a job at the Banana Association.
Yeah, exactly, later.
Which was, for all intents and purposes, controlled by whom?
That is not direct government. Mr. Speaker, the Banana Growers Association is not a direct department of the government. It's indirect, Mr. Speaker.
I see. Thank you.
It's a state-owned enterprise.
Good. Thank you.
It's like...
Yes.
It's like the Water Authority. It's like Vinlec.
Yeah, I know that.
But who controls it?
Yeah. But you agree that, for all intents and purposes, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines control all of the statutory bodies and corporations?
So, I understand that very well, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Senator, please continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Please continue.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. I will get to that. You see, thank you very much.
Honorable Senator, please continue.
Thank you very much. So I am saying that the NDP government did not victimize him, and I'm further saying that even if the NDP government did, that is no reason for a ULP government who signed an agreement with the teachers to not employ, not honor the agreement as they did with those 3 NDP teachers. And what is more, there were ULP teachers who ran at the same time and lost 2 chances. And they got jobs with the government, probably promotion jobs. They got jobs. Oh, not to teach, but they got even better jobs. So I am saying, are you going to sit there and say that it is correct to victimize 3 teachers after you sign the agreement and after the Court of Appeal decision? Are you going, where is your conscience? You spoke about conscience this morning. We cried out to God that we are all Vincentians. Are you still going to fight this Court of Appeal judgment?
What are you standing on, my lady? Point of order. What's the point of order?
Misleading the House. Because she's saying that the teachers who ran for the government, on the government side, the ULP side, they got different jobs and they got their pensions. I am letting you know that I ran. You said they got their benefits. Their benefits.
Honorable member. Never. Please sit down. That is not what she said. She said that they got, excuse me, you are not supposed to speak. Standing Order 42, you are not supposed to be speaking when... Hold on a second.
Not been following the rules.
Oh, so you all don't want to follow the rules?
But you have not been following the rules. Wow.
You want to tell me which rule that I'm not following? Honorable Senator Deborah Childs, you want to tell me which rule I'm not following? Well, you ought to know them. Standing Order 42, you cannot be speaking when the speaker is speaking. But to go back to the point that the Honorable Senator Childs stood on, she says that the Honorable Senator Bacchus Brown said that they got back their pensions. That is not what she said. She said they got, she said they got back their jobs and they may have even gotten higher positions. Hold on. No, but you said that you got the pension. Anyway. No, but you can't jump on a point of order and have your information wrong. Honorable Senator, please stand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker,
yes.
In this case, and I correctly heard the Honorable Senator, she did in fact mention that the teachers who ran for the Unity Labour Party government got back their jobs.
Yes.
And that is entirely incorrect. In fact, what I know of the situation, Mr. Speaker, is those teachers who ran for the Unity Labour Party, they also had to resign. And not only did they resign, they also lost the benefit of their pension. That is the point. So, Mr. Speaker...
Having said what you said, please sit.
No, Mr.
Having
Speaker.
said what
Mr. Speaker, the point I am making...
Honorable Carlos James, please sit. We have heard the point you are making.
Well, she ought to retract the statement.
Please sit.
She ought to retract the statement.
Mr. Louis, you're a senior. Please talk to him. Please talk to your member. Talk to him, because I don't know what this is about.
If you can't conduct yourself, don't have to speak up there. Conduct yourself from there.
The Honorable Senator, I'm not talking here about Honorable Senator James, Honorable Senator Deborah Charles said on her point of order that the Honorable Senator Bacchus Baptiste said, I have to go back, that's where we have to rule, isn't that what we have to rule on? No, listen, I will take Mr. James in turn. I will take Mr. James in turn. I don't know. You said that the honorable member said that government persons, government candidates got back their jobs and they got a pension. And I am saying to you that that was not the case. The Honorable Senator James stood on a point of order to say that when she said they got back their jobs, it also meant that they got the benefits which were in keeping with that job. And she didn't say that either.
Mr. Speaker, if you may allow me, that was never my point of order.
Very well, come again.
That was not my point of order.
Very well, come again. Please, so reiterate the point so I can get you clearly.
Mr. Speaker, I made the point very clear.
I am asking...
I said that she stated that they got their jobs back, and I said they didn't, they had to resign, they were never re-employed as teachers in the service, and I further added that they also lost their pensions.
Yes,
that is the point I'm making.
You are correct.
And Mr. Speaker, on that basis, she ought to retract her statement. It is simple.
Except,
what I understood Ms. Bacchus Baptiste to have said is that they got their jobs back.
Speaker, I do not want to infer what she said. I can only interpret what has been said. I am not going to go further to infer what her language is. I can only listen to the English language and what she said. They got their jobs back. I don't have any personal issue with this matter.
Neither do I.
Well, I'm not sure. But the point I am making, Mr. Speaker, the point I am making, she had to retract that statement. Simple as that.
Honourable member, continue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, permit me to rise on a point of order. For clarity, Mr. Speaker, are you stating that you're not going to allow the Honourable Senator to retract that statement?
I see no basis on which she should retract anything.
You don't say reason?
No. Honourable member, continue.
Well, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I see that this is a real bone of contention because they are embarrassed. It is conscience. Our 3 teachers had to suffer. I myself, Mr. Speaker, felt pained when I looked, because you see, Elvis Daniel came to me for advice, and I had to advise him when we saw that letter calling on Section 26 of the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as an attack on our citizens. I was in pain, and I had to advise him, yes, you have to resign if you want to run. And that is what is wrong with what I'm saying here today. And that should never have happened, because the agreement was signed by the Honorable Prime Minister and the Court of Appeal, well, witness.
He was a witness.
His signature was there. And this is what the Court of Appeal had to say about that act. The principle of legitimate expectation is based on the proposition that when a public body states that it will do something, a person who has reasonably relied on that statement should, in the absence of good reasons, be entitled to rely on the statement and enforce it through the courts. And I thank the law firms that enforced that statement through the courts from the bottom of my heart, because I grieved for those 3 teachers. And even all teachers who were forced to resign, they will piggyback on this judgment now and get the benefits. That's the point. But that is justice. That is justice. Now, I heard yesterday, I heard yesterday the Honorary Montgomery Daniel speak about dividing up lands in his constituency and sharing lands, and that is part of the government policy. There are many, many, many persons in North Windward and I think in North Leeward and North Windward who are on government land squatting. A lot of them have been there for over 30 years. The law says if you are there for over 30 years, government land, you have a right to claim it. The right of the government is extinguished and cannot be revived. However, there are those who have leases, and we are calling upon them to pay up their leases. I would like the Honorable Montgomery Daniel to tell me about those 3 leases which were revoked so that the land could be reallocated just before the elections in 2015 to the Daniel family. And I have the documents here with me. Because you see, you can't be a minister of housing and have leases revoked and allocated to your family, to your land. Upon his memorandum, Director General and Finance, Chief Surveyor, Cabinet Memorandum, revocation of lease and reallocation of land at Orange Hill. Daniel. Who is Daniel? There's another one. Cabinet Memorandum, dated the 6th of August 2015. Revocation of lease and reallocation of land at Orange Hill, Montgomery Daniel. And then we have the decision. Cabinet decision. Revocation of lease, reallocation and sale of land at Orange Hill in the Cabinet on Wednesday, 18 November 2015. With reference to Memorandum 556/15 on the caption subject, the decisions were as follows. Approval was granted for lot number 1 on plan number C823, measuring 4.5 acres of land at Orange Hill, which previously belonged to Frankie Toppin, to go to one Devon Daniel. The other one, lot number 10, Plan C823, measuring 3.7 acres, to be taken from Cecil Baptiste and go to one Daniel. And also number 38 of Plan C845, measuring 3.2 acres at Orange Hill Estate, previously allocated to one Mistress Winifred Hoyt, to go to one Crispin Daniel at a rate of $10,000 square feet per acre. $10,000 per acre. So I say, when you are Minister of Housing and just before elections, you are reallocating land to yourself, taking it away from persons who are supposed to have a lease. And let me ask him, whether he was actually allowing the subleasing from these persons contrary to what the lease say. And then just before elections, you take land to yourself. How can we rely on those persons to really look in the interest of all? How can we do that? So now, Mr. Speaker, I want to turn to the address by the budget speech.
Well, remember you have 15 minutes.
15? All that interruption was taken away from me?
I just give you 5.
Sorry?
To take in the interruptions, you got 5.
Ooh. Okay, well, let me go very quickly. I want to speak about page 12. I'll go very quickly. Page 12, relating to the ganja farmers. There's a quotation there by the minister speaking about encouraging persons with marijuana to plant the marijuana. I am asking, where is the amendment to the Dangerous Drugs Prevention of Misuse Act that was brought to this House and has not been brought back since? we are setting up our marijuana farmers for fall. If you're going to tell them you could get a license to plant and grow, but you can't smoke it, because if you smoke it, you'd be arrested. You'd go to jail, you'd get a record. So I'm saying it's a double standard. I'm saying recreational marijuana will make more money for St. Vincent, for the ordinary people of St. Vincent, than medicinal marijuana. Medicinal marijuana will benefit a few selected licensees, pre-selected probably. But recreational marijuana will benefit most persons. And when you see, as is going to happen, they remove marijuana from the convention of dangerous drugs, we should be way ahead. And I know the Honorable Patel will tell you more about that. So let me move on quickly. I want to refer also to the page 6 of the budget, where the Honorable Finance Minister speaks about nutritional vulnerability, and bring to your attention the report on the performance of the audit school feeding program. I don't have much time to go through it, but I'll summarize. I'll read from page 21. At present, the coordinator of the school feedings program at the Ministry of Education is responsible for the overall management of 10 pre-primary and 64 primary schools. Therefore, most of the schools were neither visited on a regular basis nor within the last 3 years. Accordingly, some schools were not assessed to determine the need for kitchen repairs, utensils, and appliances. Of the 7 schools that were visited, only 1 kitchen attendant received formal training in nutrition and food preparation. The preparation of meals is the most important task of the program, as food, if not stored, handled, prepared, cooked, or proportioned safely and correctly, can cause microbial contamination and serious illnesses. In addition, the nutritional quality of the meals provided can be compromised, increasing the risk of serious nutrition-related disorders and diseases in beneficiaries. And it goes on, and it speaks about the lack of accountability on page 24. I don't have time to go through it. The fact that goods are being purchased without any proper accountability at all from persons. Procedures and tender procedures were not observed. Purchases and tender procedures were not observed. Currently, no tendering is done for the procurement of food supplies costing 20,000 EC or more, as is required by the purchasers and tenders procedures. And then there's a conclusion. I can't go through all of it, but it would be available, quite available. There is no formal or coordinated reporting structure between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to measure and control the efficiency and effectiveness of the program. I want to speak, it's late in the House, I want to speak a little bit on the situation with CLICO. Because I've said many, many times that it's our own Prime Minister who brought the Insurance Act of 2003 to this House, and who had responsibilities for ensuring that all insurance companies paid the statutory deposit that they should have paid. He was caught napping, the statutory deposit was not paid, and that is why CLICO and Bacchus is in the position that they are today. There's Section 4 of the Insurance Act, there's Section 29(1) of the Insurance Act, which speaks about the establishing of insurance funds. I do not have time to go through it, but anybody can take up the act and see that report should have been laid before the House annually. And if that was done, the situation in Bacchus would not have happened. So many persons would not have lost their pensions, lost their investments. But all is not lost. Yes, they appointed a judicial manager. What is the current position today? It was mentioned by the minister that persons may, the page that he mentioned it, on page 36, the Honorable Minister said, in 2019, this government will continue to fight for the equitable distribution of monies to those affected by CLICO and Bacchus implosions. 2018 was a year of only incremental progress for most Vincentians on the issue, and we remain confident that with the right day-to-day oversight of this ongoing struggle, there is additional progress. Well, My information is that there is money ready to be paid out and ready for some time to be paid out, but the person who is the chairman of the committee, the OECS sub-insurance committee, is the same Dr. Gonsalves, who has not yet provided a report that is necessary so that the monies can be paid out. And so I'm urging him to do his job, get that report off, because the people are suffering. The good news, however, because I also represent about 13 clients who have lots of monies. The good news is that the judicial management was able to get a judgment which substantially covers, by and large, a large part from Mr. Dupree, against Mr. Dupree. So I think that there is some hope for those persons who would be suffering from the financial fiasco with CLICO and BICO. Now, I want to speak a little bit in more or less response to the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Culture. I heard him speak with glee, maybe, about this position of dancers in St. Vincent and Grenadines. And I sat here and I laughed, I smiled, because culture is going down the drain in St. Vincent. Yes, you can say that Calypso is up. That is no benefit. That is no no credit to the ministry. That is a credit to the hard-working Calypsonians and the creativity of our Calypsonians. But where are the dance workshops, really? I remember when we used to have dance workshops very regularly, because I was a dancer. I was the manager, the creator of NPSC, National Performing Arts Company, and the managing director of SVGTC, St. Vincent and Grenadines Dance Company, Theatre Company. And I know all the dancers. Where are dancers like Kingsley Duncan and Anne-Marie Matthews and Kip Grant and June Connell and Charmin Jackson? And people like Pablo. Yes, where dances should be better today. Our dance has gone down. There are not enough workshops. There used to be drumming workshops, dancing workshops to lift the standard of our dances. We used to be able to do whole theatrical performances. I have managed and produced and written scripts and done performances in St. Vincent with our dancers, and we need to pull that up. I want to talk about Carifesta. It is a shame what I saw St. Vincent presented in Barbados for our Carifesta presentation. I looked at it in on my TV and I felt so ashamed. The minister said that it was accredited. Listen, I represented St. Vincent in the first ever Carifesta in Guyana as a member of the Kingston Chorale. That was a performance. Singing, dancing, acting, costumes, lights, everything. I represented St. Vincent in Cuba as a member of the St. Vincent contingency. That was a production. At that time we had Shakin was there, and Carifesta was a whole performing arts then. Singing, dancing, acting, music, lights, everything, costumes. Plus it was of the creative arts also, and of arts and crafts and skills. That is what Carifesta is about. That was the vision of Mr. Burnham when he started Carifesta. I represented St. Vincent in Trinidad twice for Carifesta. At one time, I led the contingency of the performing arts section. And when I see that what we did was take some Calypsonians out of Carnival and send them to Barbados to sing and wine and dance, that is not what Carifesta is about. It is much more than that. So please don't mention Carifesta to me. Please don't mention it. We have gone a long way from the standard we used to have as performing arts persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And an NDP government will bring that back. We will bring that back. We will bring that back. I've always had a great love for the performing arts. In fact, it was my first love. The law came second. But anyway, you don't try that, you know, because I'll do anything that you could do better than you. Don't try that. Don't try that. Let me tell you all something about youthfulness. Youthfulness is about energy, about health and strength. It's not about age. It's not about age. Because you're talking about my waistline. It's better than yours. Anyway. So, I don't know how much time I have left. I don't know. Very, I could do some, you know. I can do it still, you know. It's still there. It is still there. You will never believe it. You will never believe that. Nobody would believe that. No, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me remind you all of the NDP's vision of sand and sea and sun tourism. That is what we had, which would involve the mainland and the Grenadines, with the cruise ships, boat, and the heritage sites, and the canoe development repurchasing land steam. That is what we had. But you all killed it when you came in to power. And now we don't know what type of tourism we have. It is a credit that more persons came to St. Vincent. I'm happy about that. And we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that. But many hotels are suffering. I have good friends who are owners of hotels, and they tell you that the occupancy is down. They have to lay off staff. And what happens in the off-season? Nothing. Nothing. So I am saying that it's not at all. I have friends with hotels, 2 or 3 of them, and I see what is happening. However, I want to speak a little bit about West St. George, because you may say that the roads all over St. Vincent are bad, but I think the roads in West St. George are the worst. Every time I go into the constituency, I hear about the good old days of Yvonne Francis Gibson, who built the roads and the bridges, and of Marcus the Freitas, but don't mention Seth's name. Don't even mention his name. Who is that? Do you know where Airy Hole is? Airy Hole Mountain? Huh? You know where Mary Hole is? Yes, Mary Mountain. Airy Hill. Airy Hill. And Mary Hole. You ever visit there? Go to all of those places. There's a bridge in Boom Boom where the people have to walk every day. If rain comes, it is a dangerous path. It's like a wooden path that you have to pass through. You know what we did in order to get attention? I took some youths, I went into the community, we did what is called a bad road drive. We focused on the roads and we put it to music, and ipso facto, came here and asked a question, and that particular road in Daphne Gomez was fixed. But then there's still the other bump, and I take the credit for it. And the Dorsetshire Hill Road that was fixed, I take the credit for it, because it wasn't not for my activism. For 10 years it was like that. It would not have happened, but it was fixed. But still, there are other roads that are very bad and need attention. I call in particular road that you would see every day just in front of the fellow with the pork. The fellow with the pork, selling pork.
Honor, remember you have 2 minutes.
How much?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. And I'm telling you, that road in front of the fellow who does the pork, about 3 or 4 terrible holes. Right in Boom Boom. Kane Hall Road there, going up to Boom Boom. That road, you don't pass there? I sure you don't drive there. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Iris Mackey Resource Center. Let's talk about that. The Learning Resource Center. Sorry of Doris Mackey, I know Iris too. Let's talk about that. How can the Minister of that represents West St. George and of Sports and Culture and Tourism allow his mother's name to be kept on that building in its dilapidated state? It is an insult to the lady. We will fix it up. We will fix it up. I promise you that. We will fix it up so you can be proud to drive past there. So all these roads we have, I want to talk about the Arnesvale playing field, because you promised us a sports complex, but we will turn that Arnesvale playing field into a true Arnesvale sports complex. We will establish an Arnesvale sports museum where all the sporting persons in St. Vincent and Grenadines, they can have their artifacts, their pictures and everything in that museum. That Arnesvale playing field, I'm saying now, listen, if remedial work is not done soon, some of those bolts are rusting. They will fall out and there may be an accident. It needs urgent attention. The playing field itself needs fixing. We need to establish, there's a gym there that is gone to the dogs. I heard you mention the gym. It needs refurbishing. The gym needs refurbishing, and if it is there, that is a step in the right direction. That Annesville playing field can be made into a proper sporting complex. A little restaurant and some rooms where sporting people can stay. So it will bring in money. It will bring in money also. Those are the plans and visions we have for West St. George. For West St. George. So I end by saying, don't be hoodwinked by this budget, because only 25% of what they say would be spent, capital expenditure, will be spent. Maybe 30%. Don't be hoodwinked by that mere fluff. It's a wish list, and I wish to God that your lists come true. Thank you.